Well, David Hand's the Managing Director at Newport Consulting to bring us the details of this report today. David, thanks for joining us from the City studio. Just to bring us into the picture, who did you actually speak to as part of this report?
We're working with quite a number of miners across Australia, and as we talk to them, we've been interviewing quite a large number of them about the business outlook and the outlook for their business, and that's what we've done. As we've gone and visited the mining industry, we've asked their senior management their views on their business in general terms and the outlook for their companies and their industry going forward.
Overall, there was a very optimistic tone about the outlook for the mining industry, despite this discussion of the carbon tax. So we do have to put it into perspective. What do they feel were really some of the key things in their favour, I suppose, at the moment?
I think you need to understand that the investment decisions that we're seeing right now, and probably the better way of describing it is the investment events that we're seeing now, have been in the pipeline in the resources industry for some years. It's not like the average family where you get a letter from your bank putting your mortgage up, so therefore you decide not to go to the movies on Saturday. These people have been making decisions and making investment decisions, particularly as the resources boom has occurred and prices have gone up over some time. And I think that the carbon tax and the discussions around it have been a factor for quite a long time. But at the same time, I think that the uncertainty that it brings, particularly to Australian industry, because unlike other aspects of industry that might be affected by the carbon tax, the resources companies are selling into commodity markets. They can't simply pass the price of any carbon tax imposition on their business on to their customers, and so therefore it makes them less competitive with other rival mining companies in other parts of the world.
Having said that, from my read of this, the miners who are less optimistic, and some are quite optimistic, the ones who are less optimistic, they didn't name the carbon tax as the =1 issue at the top of their list. It was only kind of part of a suite of factors.
And that's a fair comment.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, because increased costs was was that the top concern?
Well, it is a major concern because as this investment is occurring in response to the high commodity prices, the investment that the resources industry is making is also driving up their costs, and one of the obvious areas, of course, is in their cost of people. We've got a lot of inexperienced people coming into the industry, filling jobs that weren't there a year ago, which means that there's a great shortage of people, particularly on the engineering and trade side of the industry, and that, along with the difficulty then miners having in getting their businesses to perform with an untrained staff, means their output might not be quite where they forecast it would be a little while ago, and so therefore they feel these cost pressures, mostly expressed as cost per tonne or cost per unit of output in their business.
So is that where they feel the overspend and kind of the delay in terms of time frames is mostly coming from? You know, when you bring it back to investors and people watching share markets, very aware of project execution risk when you're investing in some of these big companies now.
That's right.
Did they bring it up in terms of project delays? Was that discussed much within the interviews?
I think the issue is not about the projects that are occurring today. It's not about investment and projects that you see occurring, the large increase in capacity that the country is looking at over the next short period. I think what's going on here is the mood of the industry in relation to the next range of mining projects and investments that they may make. And bear in mind, many of these are multinational companies that have mining interests in a number of countries in the world, and not just Australia. And so therefore they would look at the next projects that they would begin to develop and say, well, is Australia the right country for us to be putting this money into? In response to your very good point, which is, you know, how can we give our investors confidence that we are in control of our business and it will continue to prosper and grow in the future?
David Hand, thank you so much. We could talk for hours on that subject.
We
We have to leave it there for now. We appreciate your time today. Thanks.
Thanks for having me on.
David Hand, Managing Director at Newport Consulting, with that new report out today. Up next, we'll take a look at the takeover tussle for Foster's.